Good morning, everyone. Tomorrow's the first day of autumn, right? Isn't it? Yeah. So as Pastor said before, the lectionary beginning today turns on toward the subjects of stewardship, generosity, and gratitude. I'm going to provide a temple talk today, but just to mention, Ed Clark is going to tell us a little bit about the impact of our perpetual endowment next week. Deacon John Dellis will be here on October 5th. Jeff, they did talk to you about this. You are going to provide you're going to talk a little bit about our vision, stewarding God's vision on October 12th and so forth. But today I wanted to share with you a very personal experience. Let me ask, I'm sure everyone can remember a very happy time in their life, right? It might be, I would say, like the first date I had with my wife. It might be, it might be the day we got married, the day like people are saying, the day our kids were born, grandkids were born, those kind of things, right? I have another one that I want to lay on you. It was the day I had my gallbladder out. At this point in my life, I was pastor. I was 49 years old. We had 2 kids in college. The stock market had crashed 2 years before and wiped out a lot of our college savings plan. My career was stalled, and I was under a lot of pressure at work. My job really wasn't going that well. The date was July 2nd, 2003, and the day before that, July 1st, I experienced what I'll call the mother of all gallbladder attacks. Gallbladder stuff ran in my family. I had some problems. We were kind of making plans to do this, but I went into this big attack. They admitted me to the hospital. The surgeon said he had an opening. He looks at his watch and says, I have an opening at 5. So they did it. Everything went well. I felt great when I came out of there. I felt fantastic. And what was even better is when they wheeled me back to the room, Mary got the entire family there to greet me. It was like winning a race, and your whole family is there cheering you. But what I really wanted to tell you about is what happened after that. The visitation hours were over, and the nurses were finally leaving me alone. If anybody's had abdominal surgery, it's like hold the pillow and cough, and you think you're going to die, that sort of stuff. So they were leaving me alone, and all of a sudden, I would just describe this. It's hard to describe, but a very deep feeling of peace and contentment came over me. I was all alone. I had no worries. I felt great. But the one thought that I had was I felt like I was the luckiest guy in the world because I had everything I needed. I had everything I needed. And, I would say that I've never had a feeling like that before. I never had a feeling like that afterwards. And I kind of, for weeks and months, I began to wonder about that. What did it mean? And what am I supposed to do about it? And I would just say that I began to listen. And I'll tell you some of the things that I heard. First one is salvation is a gift from God through faith alone in Jesus Christ. The second is that now that we know we are saved, we're free to give generously of our time, talents, and treasure. And I came to realize that everything I have, everything that we have is really a gift from God. You could almost say that what we have is really on loan from God. And that God is asking us to be the steward of what has been given to us. In other words, God is asking us to manage those gifts. And, if God has been generous to us, God is asking us to be generous to others. I think it's Luke 12, it says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Now, I grew up in a culture, my family, we gave to church, and I remember going to Sunday school in the 1950s and the 1960s, and we had like these little Sunday school offering envelopes, everybody remember those? And we put a dime or a quarter in there. Now for the younger people, back in 1960, it only cost 4 cents to mail a letter. You could buy a big candy bar for a nickel, you could buy a bottle of Coke for a nickel, and you could get a popsicle or ice cream bar from the ice cream man for 10 cents. So just to put that in perspective a little bit. I would say as an adult, my giving was either motivated by what do I need in charitable deductions to be able to itemize on my income tax, or trying to figure out what the average giving was in the congregation and trying to do that and say, well, that's my share. As I started to listen, I began to consider proportional giving. And I looked at my proportional giving, and it really was not that impressive. So what I did about that, I just said, well, year over year, I'm going to try to increase that, maybe 0.5% year over year or percent year over year, and grow that. And with Mary's help and so forth, we did that. So that's kind of where I am. I'd like to close with a couple of lines from 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul writes, remember that the person who plants few seeds will have a small crop. The one who plants many seeds will have a large crop. Each one should then give then as he has decided, not with regret or out of a sense of duty, for God loves the one who gives gladly, and God is able to give you more than you need. So I stand here today, and I'll tell you, I don't consider myself to be rich, but we have everything that we really need. Thank you for the opportunity to share that.